Hello, and welcome to the Self-Care with Herbs segment of the Elder Tree podcast. I'm your host, Jess Bosker, naturopath, herbalist, and medicine maker. Before we begin, I'd like to acknowledge the Banjalang people, the traditional custodians of the land on which I live, and pay my respects to elders past, present, and emerging. Now, come along and join me each month for beautiful conversations with guests from across the country, exploring ways we can weave plant medicine into our days to enrich our experience of self-care, sharing routines, rituals, and recipes for elevating mind, body, and spirit. Today, I'm absolutely honoured and thrilled to be chatting with herbal elder and legend Pat Collins. Pat generously shares so much of her wisdom during this episode. We talk about self-sufficiency as a form of self-care, and this is a big passion of Pat's. She shares so generously her wisdom around weeds and foraging around us, using the plants that are nearby to support health. She shares some beautiful home remedies using things that we have in the pantry and the kitchen, and she talks passionately about taking control of our health and feeling empowered. Pat is a wonderful teacher and an absolute pot of wisdom, and we're so lucky to have her sharing with us today. Hello, Pat, and welcome to the Self-Care with Herbs segment of the Elder Tree podcast. It is such an honour and a pleasure to have you today.
Thank you.
Now, we all know, most of us will know Pat as an absolute herbal legend, herbal elder. What I'd love to jump straight into, Pat, is a little bit of your early story. Whereabouts did you first start to have that connection with plants and herbs? Can we go right back to the beginning?
Yeah, well, I was brought up on dairy farms, and in dairy farms, you're out in the bush all the time, you're getting drowned in the creek, all that sort of thing. So, your parents are always busy working and all the rest of it. So I love gardening, and I love walking over the hills, and I love the bush, and all that sort of love that I have. And then I got into, as I got older, I'm big on self-sufficiency, building your own house, bees, goats, all the rest of it, milking your own goats and things, and I had a couple of kids. I've always grown plants, and I've always loved looking after myself and being self-sufficient. But it wasn't until I had children that I really began to get into the herbs. And the reason that I actually did that is because I just wanted to look after them naturally. And I had a friend in Denman, and she was doing a work, like it was just a correspondence one with a fellow in Simon Shott, actually, in Queensland, doing one of his courses. And she said how good it was, and I thought, that sounds interesting. I'm after anything I can do with self-sufficiency, and anything I can do to help look after the kids. So I got into it, and I thought, wow, I love this stuff. And he was big on weeds as well, and he used chickweed and everything else like that. But wow, the plants around us we can use as well. And since then, my kids have had poultices stuck on them and compresses and herbs and all the rest of it. And so they were my first little guinea pigs. And I started by doing the Simon Shots. I did it all by correspondence because I had children at home. And then but it's not like correspondence is these days with going on the internet and everything. It was all just written and sent away. It was only the 80s. And anyway, I got that, and then I thought, I love this so much, I went on to the diploma. So, and when I got that done, TAFE actually asked me if I would come and teach. They said those back in those days, anyone could teach TAFE as long as you had some interest in plants or whatever you had interest in, and find people, they were happy for you to go ahead. So I found 12 people. I thought, this is great. I can try all my herbs now, and I can see if this will work, and I can make all these products. And that's what I did. I started doing all that, and I started doing TAFE courses, and I did them for quite a long time, TAFE courses. I'll run from Scone, and then I did outreach courses, and then I started doing privately and that sort of thing. And that's when I started my own business about 3 years after, about 30 years ago now. 3 years after I started doing teaching, I started then running my own business. We got this place here, Total Health and Education Centre. We set it all up, and now I work from here with other practitioners and things. So, yeah, it's been a growing thing. I've loved it all the way, and I love teaching. I teach a lot.
Natural
I
teacher,
love
Pat.
doing workshops. I enjoy it.
Yeah.
It's nice when people come back to you and say, "Look, I've really enjoyed how you teach." Like it's. Like you're laid back and it's easy to listen to, and I think that's really a very nice thing to hear. So
Absolutely.
if you enjoy learning, if you enjoy how I teach you, then you're going to take it in and you're going to be able to use it a lot more. So that's what I love, and I've taught thousands and thousands of people.
Yeah,
so,
absolutely.
So that's where my relationship with plant medicine.
Beautiful, Pat. So really had that close connection early on growing up on the farm. Back then, were you using...
always with plants.
Yeah, were you using weeds and plants for medicine when you were on the farm, like home remedies? No, okay.
Not at all. No, I never knew anything about it. My mother, my parents were workers, and the dairy farmers 365 days of the year. So if you were sick, you stayed in bed and didn't move, and otherwise you went to school. So we never got sick, and so. And my mother was not really taught much of these sort of things. When I go back into it now, Grandma did all these things, but we never knew. And my mother didn't carry that on. She came from England.
Yes.
And she started a new life, her and my father started a new life in Australia, and they just, I don't know, we never went to doctors. We never, which is tough little things, living on the farm. So, so I didn't know anything about herbs. No. I completely learned it when I was older.
Yeah, so it was more a connection to the land and nature and plants that kind of was fostered early on.
The love of self-sufficiency, the love of doing my own thing and looking after people around me. So that was where it started from, and this was a natural progression into how I like to do that.
Yeah. Can you cast your mind back to some of those first kind of ailments and remedies that you sort of put together for the kids? What were some of the things that you kind of first got into in terms of herbal remedies?
I was big on onion poultices.
Yes.
As you probably know me from onion poultices. So I really, in fact, I started writing books too. I started writing books back when I was at TAFE, and they said stop giving them pieces of paper, write books. So I called my book series In Touch with the Earth, because that's what I felt people had got away from.
Yes.
And one of my books was, oh no, not the onion poultice again, because that was a simple thing. So my daughter was very prone to earaches, and so I used to go around, I used to put, make ear, chop up an onion and stick it on her and just wrap it up, and off she'd run around the paddock. So I did that sort of thing, and my son was cough, so I used to put the onion on his chest at night. So I started with really basic stuff rather than the herbs.
Yes.
So, I learnt the herbs soon after, mind you, but I really started with a lot of the basic stuff that we had to do. Cypriol, kids live on Cypriol, bellyache or something straight away. Teaspoon of Cypriol, you get better. So, it was all about, just have something, you get better and you'll be right. So I learned about how to make patty. A lot of my things, what I learned to make things, was a lot to do with my workshops and things. Because when I did my workshops, I was trialing them on all my people. So I was creating all these recipes and things like that, and things that we were doing. And then they were taking them home and using them, and they worked well. So we always use healing cream at home and all those sort of things. And so we made ointments and things. So... And then it grew a lot from that. And then, of course, I just used those sort of things at home. My daughter was a very bad headache girl too. She used to have migraines, so feverfew was a big one. She used to live on feverfew. And that always kept her migraines at bay. So that was, I use specific things for specifically what they have. So,
yes. Being the queen of the onion poultice, for those of our listeners who don't know the power of the onion, do you mind sharing a little bit about the effectiveness of onion for earaches and chest?
Yeah, sure. Onions have got very high sulfur content, which is really good. And what you can use, how you can do it for an earache, for instance, is you just warm up the onion. You can just put it in the in the stove. I don't use microwaves. That can destroy some qualities in them. You could steam them, I suppose, if you didn't have a stove. It's just to soften it. And then you take it out and then you cut it in half. And originally I did put some, you can squash out the drops and put it directly into the ear. I think I must have put in a bit warm one day with my daughter, and that was the end of that. So after that, it was just strictly the half an onion on the ear. So I would take it out, cool it enough, cut it in half, cover it up in a bit of gauze, and stick it on the ear. So you stick it on the ear, and then you put a bandage around it to hold it on. And then they can usually you have to do it at bedtime, and they go to sleep with it, and all that beautiful sulfur fumes goes through and breaks up the congestion. It's quite amazing how it does.
And that's relieving the pain and the infection, yeah.
Straight away, it works really, really well. What do you do otherwise? You wake up and you have to have Panadol. Give the kid a Panadol, and then wake up, I've got more pain. Panadol. This way, you're getting rid of the infection, you're getting rid of the pain, and quick results, and the child sleeps soundly. So,
beautiful.
And, what's the side effect? Not wrecking the liver or anything like it. No. So, it's wonderful what you can do naturally for yourself.
Absolutely.
And for your loved ones.
And working similarly as a chest poultice?
Yes. So with the chest poultice, it's important that you don't put it on directly because some people get irritation. So you put a little bit of oil on first, and then you actually grate the onion really finely, and it's very, very juicy. And then you put it. I often use chucks. They're easy to use, and I lay it out on the chucks, and then I absorb extra moisture up with the paper underneath it, and then you put it onto the oiled chest. And with the boys, it's easier. Girls, especially women, have got the boobies in the road. But you can also use the back. And then you seal it with plastic, like Glad wrap or something like that. And then you can bandage it on. And you can just leave it on overnight. And the cough will stop like that. So I remember you used to cough. Oh, hold on, I'll make a bling poultice for you. And so you go and make the poultice, you stick it on the chest, and settle down straight away. So it works really well. Start by just using water. I'm big on anything that's natural therapies. You can start with water and just wet like a chucks or hanky or something. It's got to be light so it dries up quickly. And you just put that on and seal it really well, and that can work really well. So there's always the basic things you can do. Sore throat, you can always use a warm, wet hanky and wrap it around the throat and cover it up with some sort of plastic or something. You've got to seal it, and then bandage it on, and that can just move it away. It's just like it just moves the effect. It's such a simple thing. And if you do something like that to somebody and they go, "Wow, that worked," well, then they'll try something else.
Absolutely.
And you've got to sometimes start with the real basics.
Yes. Yeah, and things that are easy and around the home, huh?
Sorry, what was that?
Things that are easy and around the home.
That's right. Things are around the home. So what I like to do is because I teach a lot, I like to start off with things that they can do, things that they can do for themselves. They have a potato. You can grate a potato for a poultice. They work really well. I'm big on teaching people weeds because they're always around, and so they can go and find some petty spurge to put on their suspect sunspot or something. They can get some chickweed to bathe in for their eczemas and things. So it's good to find things that are around the area. Then they can straight away start doing it. Otherwise, they say it's in a too hard basket and they won't do it. And it's really important you give people that control.
Absolutely.
Otherwise, you give the control to the doctors. Pharmacists and all that.
That's right.
Take the control back to ourselves and just use the doctors and the pharmacists for the really important things.
Yeah, great approach. Absolutely. Now, the concept of this segment of the podcast is all about self-care. And often we talk about big things, we talk about the nervous system, but I'd love to approach it with you, Pat, from that angle of self-sufficiency that you were talking about earlier. Self-care, it sounds to me like for you, self-care has a lot to do with being able to be self-sufficient.
Oh, definitely. Definitely it's part of it. I spent my early life, I made mud bricks and made a house and all that sort of thing. And, we had bees and we'd spin our own wool. It went on and on, all that sort of stuff. I've got down to more of the basics just with me and my hubby at home these days. And, having a lovely vegetable garden and things like that because food is so important. good quality
Yes.
food and growing your own food as well, and using the weeds as nutrients. That's really important as well, and that's part of the self-care is eating the right foods and getting the nutrients from the soil. So whatever grows around you is what you probably need. So you need to use those sort of foods. So if you've got some lovely milk thistle or something, I'm talking about south thistle, that's the one, you can chop that up and put in your food. Dandelions you can put into your food. There's lots of beautiful things you can do for yourself. But yes, I'm very much into, and then teaching people what to grow. So getting people to grow their own feverfew if they're migraine sufferers or something, or headache sufferers or something.
Yes.
To grow some rosemary for your memory and things like that, and many other things. Grow your own garlic and things. There's just so much stuff that you can do for yourself, and just keeping good things in the house. Potato and onion, carrot, all those sort of things. You can do heaps with a cabbage. And, there's anti-inflammatory and things like that too with all those sort of things. But I think we need to get back to some basics.
Absolutely. It sounds like this has been a really big part of your life from early on, Pat. Has there been a time when there's been some things in the way of you being able to be as self-sufficient as you'd like?
I think I'd always like to be more.
Yeah.
I'd like to have a bigger garden. I'd like to have more. It's called time. So
yes, of course.
To be able to do enough of my things that I'd love to do. So,
yeah, sure.
Because I'd like to, like my garden gets very, rain. I could do with some more rain at the moment. So it's all those sort of things. You've got to work on the land. Well, you see, we've got a property up at the top of Martindale, and it's surrounded by Wallamai National Park. And we used to have cattle and things on it, but we've actually, when we had the big drought, we got rid of them all. And I'm quite happy because I hated the whole business. But we used to do the whole thing. People are vegetarian now, but back then we used to kill our own meat and all the rest of it. I remember, I used to be I was a cub leader for about 20 years, and we got the goat up there and we're hanging it up and we're cutting it up, and all the parents are going, oh my God, we're teaching kids. But we got to teach them basics, so
yes.
Going back to the basics of these things. So, and eating real food, it's terribly important. So, and I'm big on bush food. By the way, I do a lot of stuff with bush foods and bush tucker and all that sort of thing as well, because I think that's really important to understand our own plants that grow around us as well.
Absolutely. Now, I know that you are really great at facilitating people to be able to do more of this. What do you think stops a lot of people from doing what we were talking about before and kind of taking control and taking power back for themselves in terms of caring for their own health? What do you think gets in their way?
I think fear. I think there's a tremendous lot of fear, especially with your children. You get very fearful that you can't do it yourself. I had this lovely lady that came to my course once. She had 3 little kids, and they're always getting colds and things, and she was constantly taking them to the doctor and they have antibiotics. And she came to my courses, and I taught her about onion poultices and all that sort of thing, and having some Patty's Lucent cough syrup and things. And I saw her years and years later, and she said, I've never taken my kids to the doctor since, because she learnt to do all those things.
Yes.
And it was fear that she didn't understand. She couldn't do it right. She couldn't look after them. And a lot of people around you will be very difficult about these things too. And they will say, oh, no, look, you've got to take her to the doctor because she's got nits in her hair or whatever.
Yes.
And you've got to use the right stuff.
Yes.
And so I do think that has a lot to it, and lack of knowledge. That's why I teach. If I can give people that ability in my written books, if I can give people that ability to, to use it. I mean, look at comfrey. Look what happened to comfrey.
Yes.
How it got banned and everything. What an amazing herb that is, and that's a lack of knowledge.
Absolutely.
That sort of thing. So I do think teach more, and I'm big on all our herbalist people and things like that, getting out there and teaching and helping people as much as we can that direction. And we've got some wonderful herbalists and naturopaths that are doing that, which is really good to see.
Absolutely.
But like I say, I like to really get down to the nitty-gritties, the weeds and the compresses and that sort of thing too.
Yes.
You can teach a person. I teach people. I remember I've taught a lot of people, And one person will come back and it's just all they care about and all they remember is making the calendula ointment. So that's what they come in and buy it off me. So that's okay. That's all they remember and that's all they want to take on board. That's what's useful for them. So that's one step.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But what you're doing also, you're broadening their horizons. We are very narrow. You know, we've got to go to the doctor, we've got to go to the chemist, and worse now is reading what you do on Google. People come to me all the time. All this Google says is, oh, no, I can't take that because Google says. And I think, oh, where are you getting this information from? Oh, Facebook. And, you know, like anyone can say anything, and it's really getting bad.
Yes.
You know, like, you know, what are they? They don't know who to believe and who not to believe. And I know people come to me now because they say, we're getting so fuddled up, you know. You think one thing is the right way to eat or the other, and then it becomes the wrong thing to eat by another person. So it can be complicated, and it's simple. Eat real food.
Yes.
Like that's what we got to get back to. So
absolutely.
And exercise. They're basic things, aren't they? And people are looking for all these other things that you know, like easy to get out of. Take something and straight away you're going to get better. Yes, anyway.
No, there's no quick fix, is there?
That's the way we've been taught, isn't it? You know, you go to the doctor, you get a pill, and you'll get fixed straight away. So, and then they expect that off the herbs sometimes. So it's teaching knowledge. You know.
I imagine having lived this way of life for so long, Pat, that it's really ingrained in who you are. But I'm wondering if you can share with us a few little kind of rituals or routines using these beautiful self-sufficient ways that kind of make their way into most of your days. Like, what sort of things are you using or doing that kind of really cement this way of life for you daily?
Well, I always run around the paddock with my dogs in the morning and the night. So always getting some form of exercise. I'm a bit naughty with the sleep because I get to bed rather late. But anyway, we try. And I do try. People come to me all the time. I've got no time to cook, you know, all that sort of thing. I mean, I've got no time to cook, but I just throw the vegetables on, put the lid on, and come back and eat them. You know, like it can be so simple. So that's really important to me. I must have breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and I must eat salad. I must have vegetables. I'm a very high salad and vegetable eater. My weakness is I eat too much fruit. You know, the grapevines are covered in grapes and everything. I just eat tons of them. So, but it's that sort of thing. I think is really important. You always keep those fundamental foods in your diet.
And you mentioned too, really kind of leaning into those foods that are around you.
Yes. Try and always use foods that grow in season because I often eat watermelon in the middle of winter and things like that. So I do buy from an organic feast place, which is in Maitland, and I do try and buy my extra things and bits and pieces from them if I don't grow myself. Mostly growing greens, and it's been so terribly dry. I'm just trying to keep to basics at the moment. But I'll tell you, the dry, it's been fantastic because no birds. So I got peaches and I got grapes, and so there's some pluses, and no fruit fly. So I've still got my oranges still going. So there's always some pluses with all these seasons. But the other things that I'm big on, I always take echinacea. I'm a bit big on echinacea. I've always found it a damn good herb. I do suffer from, I talk a lot, so I do suffer from throat issues. And I have found that I suck an echinacea tablet every night, for instance, and I always find that one of my little regimes that I do. It's also very good for immunological ageing, and I think that's a very important thing for us to think about. The other thing I do have a lot of is licorice pieces, you know, the true licorice, which is made from pure licorice, crushed down to make little pellets. And I always suck them, and I suck them particularly at night too, and that stops. So I used to lose my voice all the time. I used to have a lot of throat issues, and I haven't since I started that regime. So you've got to find regimes that are going to work for you and what works in your area. I do have vitamin C all the time. I do believe in some of that. So that's another regime that I have in the morning. I have one of the vitamin C drinks. So I have a couple of cups of water in the morning. All those sort of little bits and pieces. And then you have all the extras. I get a lot of extras because the people that come around selling me stuff always have extra tablets, so I'm always taking them home and taking something or other, and I think, oh, God, what have I got now? Something for the nerves or something.
Yes.
Another herb that I would take, I took a long time, and I haven't recently needed it so much, but St. John's wort. And I took it a lot through menopause, and I found it calm my nervous system and everything. It was like that. It was really, really good.
What
But
form
there's
were
a
you
type
taking
that
it in then, Pat? Were you taking it as a tincture
I
or?
took in fluid, in tincture that I
Yeah.
make myself. So
Beautiful.
I quite like that tincture. And then the other herb that I nearly always take though is ginkgo.
Ah,
I want to
yes.
keep my brain going. I'm getting older in this job, and I need to get the old brain going. So
Yes.
I have found ginkgo, bacopa okay, but I have found ginkgo myself much better. So I
Sure.
make my own percolation mixture with that one, or if I run out, I will just grab some tincture from work or something. So I find that also a very excellent herb. They're probably the major ones I stick to with it, as far as regime goes. So, and I have garlic, fresh garlic. I have fresh garlic, a cup of cloves every day. So keep the parasites away and all the rest of it. So,
Yes,
and I
yes.
think that's really good to keep me healthy.
And of the myriad products that you make yourself, which ones do you find yourself reaching for the most on a day-to-day?
Definitely the Hypericum Plus roll-on.
Uh-huh.
Use that one a lot.
Yes.
Because I get bites and stings and things like that. And so I use that for all that sort of thing. And if
Yes.
I've got a headache, it's just amazing. You rub that on and the headache just goes. You might have to rub it on
Yes.
another hour, but it doesn't matter. So that can be really good. That's just Hypericum infused oil that we make ourselves.
Beautiful.
And I put essential oils and lavender and rosemary and peppermint. I really like that. I like my healing cream. I carry that everywhere with me.
What's that one got in it, Pat?
It's got calendula, St. John's wort, and comfrey. It's quite a
Beautiful.
well-known
Yes.
combination because
Yes.
it heals and any bump. I scrape and bash myself around all the time, so that can be really helpful for that sort of thing. What else do I use? I would in winter or something, garlic syrup, that sort of
Yes.
thing. I make garlic
Yes.
syrup, extra strong garlic syrup. I'll take that if there's a bit of cough around or there's a bit of colds. And I would, if I go away or something, I would take extra St. John, take extra echinacea. So if I think, there's something around or something coming down with it, I will then take echinacea every couple of hours. I'll take a tablet. I find the tablets useful because I like sucking them because
Yes.
they last longer and they keep working on the
Yes.
tract. So and lymphatic system. So
Absolutely.
that's why I use those ones. Yeah.
And I'd love to chat to you a little bit more about your use of weeds because that's not something that a lot of herbalists or naturopaths know a lot about or reach for instinctively. And how did that kind of come into your orbit and your repertoire using weeds?
Well, when I first started learning about the herbal, being a herbalist, the Simon Shop was actually quite big on the weeds that were around. He was telling me about chickweed and things. So that's how I got interested. And then I used to take the weeds into the agricultural department when they were around here, and I would ask them to identify it, and they would just race off and look for a book. And I thought, bugger that, I can look at a book. So I went and bought the book that they kept using, and I identified lots of it, and then I wrote my own weed book, which was very popular. And then eventually I wrote another book called Wondrous World of Weeds because I think identification is really important and researching things. So because and people just walk around the paddocks with their books now and then find the things that are useful. I really want to get that information, that knowledge about using the weeds because otherwise we poison them. I had a fellow came into my course, an elderly fellow, and he always poisoned the dandelion, didn't like him in his lawn. They were making bees and he's walking on whatever. So I taught him how good the dandelion was. So he came and did the course a second time and he brought all this dandelion in for everyone to share. Because he hasn't poisoned it for a long, long time. So,
yes.
St. John's wort, how good is St. John's wort? We import St. John's wort from overseas to use.
I know.
We import fennel from overseas to use. We have the best fennel on the side of the road.
Growing wild.
There's heaps of growing everywhere.
Yes.
I often I will dig something up from the side of the road, but I won't use it. I will then plant it in my garden, and when it gets established, that's when I will use it, when it pops up all over the place. You put a herb in one weed in one place, it won't stay there. It goes over here somewhere. And the reason it does that is that's where the nutrients it needs is. And the beauty of weeds is it's trying to fix your paddocks. It's trying to fix the damage that you've done. It's putting those nutrients back into the soil. And plantain never grew at my place when I was there, and I've actually introduced it, and it's actually done quite well in certain areas. So, and then I can collect it from that area, but it doesn't go crazy. And dandelions weren't there. I had to introduce those. But yet they grow beautifully. You can go to some people's places. I do weed walks and things like that, and you can find 50 weeds. In heaps of useful things that you can use for all sorts of things. So, you don't have to think, oh, my God, I've got to buy this expensive herb. And people got no money, People worry about money and things.
Yes.
Weeds are free. We want you to use them rather than poison them. So let's use more of the weeds and put them to use. Look at all the things we've got around us. If anyone's I've got people that come to me, spent thousands on trying to get rid of this eczema or whatever skin problem. Give them an ointment that you made fresh from the garden or whatever. Boom, fixes it.
Gone. Yes.
I can't believe it. It costs too cheap. Can't work.
Yes. I know.
So I've had to put the prices up of some things, otherwise I don't think it's going to work. So it's just it's a crazy world.
Yeah. Many of us would be familiar with fennel, dandelion, St. John's wort. Can you share with us some of the weeds that you use that most herbalists would be quite unfamiliar with and really wouldn't maybe even know the names?
I think most people would know petty spurs, wouldn't they?
Yeah.
They were for basal carcinomas, so that's quite an easy one to use. This is why I have a book, you see, that has over 100 weeds in it. So, because there is so many different ones. I love clivers. Clivers is let's have a look there. Clivers is a sticky plant that sticks on your clothes. Sometimes it's called sticky willy. Yes. And don't you love the names? I love the name.
Yes.
And that's a beautiful lymphatic herb and a beautiful urinary herb. All sorts of urinary problems as well. There's fumitory. Okay. Fumitory is got a little purpley, pinky flower, and it's very, they sometimes call it smokeweed. It grows all over things, all over the place, and that's got fumarian in it, and fumarian is really good for skin problems. So that's a really useful one as well. What are all the other ones that I use? Goodness me. Shepherd's purse. Love shepherd's purse because it tells you what it's for. It has that little tiny heart seeds on it, and that tells you it's good for the heart. You know how we have doctoral speeches? So shepherd's purse is good for blood pressure and bleeding and things like that. So we can use that. How I use them is I might dry them, or I might make them into tincture, or I will juice a lot of my herbs, like I juice clivers and dandelions and preserve them, and that's how I use them. What are the other ones I use? I use mallow a lot, not marsh mallow that you get from England, the wild mallow that grows around the area, and one of my favourites is Paddy's lucerne. Paddy's lucerne is in the mallow family, so it's really good for that demulcent and protection of the skin and things. But Paddy's lucerne is even stronger, and it grows in a tremendous lot of areas, and it's really good. I make a cough medicine from that one too. So it not only protects your lungs, it also, the root bark actually helps with the cough reflex. So, but it's called, the other name for it's called cedar. And over in India, they love it and they use it for everything. So it's used far beyond what I'm just telling you here now. So it's got a tremendous lot of uses. So there's another herb that you would know called, I call it cobbler's peg. Some people call it farmer's friends. It's a rotten little black thing that's got a black seed and it sticks all over your pants and everything else. Like that. Everybody knows that one. I was so pleased when I found it had a tremendous lot of medicinal values, and I see that I think it's Ortho, who's Optimal, have made a Biddens, but it's a different Biddens. But Biddens, all the different Biddens have got all their uses. So Cobbler's Pegs has hundreds of papers written all over the world
Oh,
on it.
wow.
And so I think we need to use more of this because there's heaps of it around, isn't there? So
Yes.
medicinal, there's 100 and, I'm just reading this from a book because I
Yeah.
can't remember this. There's been 116 publications documenting the medicinal use of this plant. In folk medicine, it covers 40 categories of illness. You can use it as a dry powder, decoction, maceration, tincture. It links traditional usage with rigorous evidence-based scientific study. It had extraordinary source of phytochemicals that show promise for anti-tumour,
Wow.
inflammatory, anti-diabetic, anti-hypoglycemic, antioxidant, immunomodulator, anti-malaria, antibacterial, antifungal, anti-hypertension. So it's against good
Yes.
French funguses as well. So a tremendous lot. And another favourite I've got is Stinking Roger.
Uh-huh.
Stinking Roger is a very common plant that grows around. It's in the marigold family, and it is a very strong antifungal. Now, fungus is a big problem these days,
Yes.
and it's also a very, very good against mosquitoes. So
Ah.
I actually pick it and I put it into oil, make infused oil with it. I empty one lot out and I put another lot in, and I also make tincture and I make sprays with it. And I've got people now that go overseas and make this cream. I put other things in it too, like lavender and citron on that. And they say that it works better than DEET. And they're making their own over this Asian lady, taking all the ingredients and getting all the people around to make their
Wow.
own because it works so well. So this is Stinking Roger. So Stinking Roger being antifungal, what a great idea to make things like pesto with it and to get it, because over in South America where it grows a lot of, they actually put it in their food. You know, it's in their food.
Wow.
It's I was teaching away, and this lady from South America came over and said, "Oh, we use that all the time," you know. So she
There you
loved
go.
it, and we had pesto made and things like that, and because then you're getting the antifungal properties, you
Yes.
understand,
Yes. Systemically.
which is
Yep.
probably stronger than other ones. So it's got a very distinct flavour.
Yes.
That's why you need things like pestos and things like that. So that's there's another one. I could go on and on. There's another
Kick.
one called potato weed. Really common little thing. It's got a little tiny yellow and white flower. Potato weed. Just explain it to you. It's very common. You do see it a lot around, especially around the coastal areas too. Good old periwinkle. Oh, plantain. Love plantain. But let me find potato weed. Potato weed's got little tiny star-like flowers. So it's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 little white petals on it, like on the outside of the yellow centre, and these green leaves. And it's Galinsoga parviflora. You got to watch common names. You can pop with
Yes.
things with that one.
Yes.
Its other name's gallant soldier, and it's very edible. Very nice to eat, and overseas they use it in potato dishes and things. And here we have grown in our garden. We pull it out, we give it to the chooks or whatever, put in our compost, and here's something that's going to be full of nutrients. These things are loaded with nutrients.
Yes.
You know, why do we need all these? I always say to people, if you can make a mixture with your weeds and things and put them in your salads all the time, or you put them in your juices,
Yes.
good places to put them in your juices, then you'll be getting all the nutrients that you need. You'll be getting your vitamins and minerals. You don't have to take tablet, which is so artificial.
Absolutely.
Well.
Yeah. Do you have any tips, Pat, for people around foraging for weeds safely?
Sorry, I lost that a bit.
Do you have any tips for people on foraging weeds safely?
Oh, okay. How to be safe about it. Okay, if it has white sap, beware. So white sap would always be wet, except the ones you know. So, for instance, you know dandelion is very safe. You know south is all safe. And another one I love is prickly lettuce. That's also a very safe herb. So we know the white sap on that is a safe thing. But a lot of the other ones, no, it's something to be aware of. There is ones with red flowers and things. You have to be a little bit be careful because it's sometimes a warning, unless you know very well, unless you know your plants. Look, I've always been big on identification. It's one of the reasons I wrote my book. And put so many colour pictures in it. It's got over 300 pictures in it. So and then they can go on the internet and you can find things. Be very careful of that one that you get the picture of. You take it on and tells you 10 different things it
Oh,
could be.
yes.
So that's a bit harder, but they're just tools. They're just helpful
Yes.
tools. So you just need to know. So if you don't know your plant properly, don't touch it.
Yes.
Okay, so but you have to learn, and the way that you're going to learn is pick the plant, take it home, get it really well identified. So, for instance, chickweed is a very easy plant to identify because it's got those little tiny hairs down
Yes.
one side and the other. You break it open, it's got that inner membrane. It's got that little white flower. These are very distinctive things. Shepherd's bush, you can't go wrong. Nettles can't go wrong. Stings you.
Yes.
So as long as it stings you, that's my favourite of mine. I love nettles. I'm watering nettles at the moment to try and keep enough up because we use nettle conditioner. It's such a popular thing that we do. So basically, we can do this little taste test and everything else like that, but I'd like you to be a little bit more aware, not just
Sure.
chomp on anything.
Yes.
I've
Yes.
in trouble with that sort of thing. Don't drop dead. And of course, be very careful with anything to do with mushrooms.
Yes. Yes. And are you cautious about spraying, Pat?
Oh, that's the other thing too. I won't eat anything on the side of the road. Like I say, I'll pick it and I'll regrow it in my garden. Unless it's some quiet road out of the bush and nobody goes up it, because it can be sprayed. And also all the fumes and things. But also, if I'm going to go, say if I'm going to pick St John's water or anything like that, I won't do it if it has been poisoned the last 3 years. So it's just a rule that I have. So
Yes.
they will send me to another area that hasn't been poisoned at all, a new area, and that's
Yes.
I won't pick in the old area. It takes about 3 years for the body, the land to try and fix itself like that.
Yes.
Yes, be careful. Yeah. And you can go along lanes and things and think, oh, look at that wonderful herb. Identify it and then see if you can find it elsewhere. By all means, pick it, but identify it, see if you can find it elsewhere where you know it's not being sprayed or anything, because it's very common. Unless you can find it at the council where they spray or whatever.
Yes.
It's a problem. But you can find things in people's backyard. It grows in your backyard.
Yes.
If you've got a garden like mine, things pop up all over the lawn. It's great. So we don't have a lawn as such. We have a garden and we just mow. It's very high. I'll pay you want that, and goes around this and goes around that, and I think, oh my God. I don't know what the snakes are. But, at the moment, the wombats are eating it right down, the wallabies are eating it right down, so we have no problems at the moment. They're even into my jasmine. You never really like jasmine, did you? They were even into jasmine.
Gosh.
So that's medicinal too, jasmine. It's just, once you get into this, you're going to go, wow, and this can be useful, that can be useful. And there's flowers, hollyhocks and things you can use. And, lots of our beautiful flowers you can
yes.
You probably don't even know. So
eyes open.
Careful. The hybrids aren't quite the same as the originals. So true calendulas are not the same as the new hybrid calendulas. They're not going to poison you or anything, but
no, not as medicinal. Yeah. You mentioned earlier doing some work with indigenous plants. Can you share a little bit more about that?
Oh, I really like people to understand about indigenous plants. I'm in a group called Indigenous Plants for Health Association, and trying to get people more aware of indigenous plants and their uses, but also working in conjunction with the native people as well, the Aboriginal people, and because they have got a lot of knowledge, and but sadly a lot has been lost. This is a very sad thing. I have written a book on called Bushwise. And my Bushwise book has got some plants around this area because there's not a lot of information on our area. So whereas we've got a lot of good information at the top of Australia because we've got a lot more information up there, there are pockets where we get some good information. But it's really important that we respect the things that grow in the bush. So there are plants, say like sticky hot bush that grow a bit like weed, so you can pick those, and so it's good to know which ones you can. There's another one called white cedar. White cedar has got poisonous qualities, but if you know how to use it, there's leaves and things like that can be very anti-inflammatory, and that's like a weed. So these are native on growing in the wrong spot sort of thing. So there are plants that you can use like that. There is native, for instance, quite a good one to use is purslane. Now, purslane is tricky to say, is that native or not? The Aboriginal people have always used it, and because it grows out in the deserts and things like that, and you can eat it and squash it up, and you can get the seeds, and you can make little cakes with them and things like that. But it is a cosmopolitan plant. It grows all over the world. But that's a very common plant that you can use. So you need to learn what plants you can use. We grow bottle brushes, bottle brush flowers are all edible, and so grevillea flowers. So we can put them in teas and things like that, which is really nice. A lot of us are growing lemon myrtles and cinnamon myrtles, and aniseed myrtle is really nice. And so learn to use those. So I'm trying to teach people also to grow more natives, to get more natives growing in their own gardens, so that then they can use those as well, rather than go in the bush and collecting them, because we don't want to, especially in national parks and things, we don't want to pick out the wrong things there. It's just being aware. I'm in bunya nuts. What a season for bunya nuts this year. I've got bunya nuts galore. Boiling them and cutting them up and all the rest of it. So there's no end of things you can do with bunya nuts. And really, these are things that are just thrown away in the tip unless you know what to do with them. And lily pillies. Look how many people grow lily pillies and don't use them. And they're lovely. They're nice. They're yummy. And you can make things out of them. And people just go, oh, no. But these were the berries that we once ate. We used to eat little tiny berries. That was good for us. And now we eat these great big bananas, pineapples and mangoes. Well, we have sugar troubles, we neglect back to eating some of these little tiny things. So I grow a lot of bush stuff in my garden, and I love eating all the little bits and pieces. And I love also, I've just been chewing on blackberry nightshade before I started here. Little tiny blackberry nightshade berries, got to be black, otherwise it's not good for you, not green. But they're really full of nutrients and things, and they grow all wild in the bush as well. So I try and talk people about natives and also about the things that are easy for them to collect and what they can collect and what they can grow and things like that.
Yes. What are some of your products that you use the native plants for, Pat?
The native plants I would have in the bush calming tea. It's in the bush calming tea.
What's that one got in it that's a native?
Oh, that one's got wilga. It's got lemon myrtle in it. It's got sticky hot bush in it, and it's got bottle brush in it.
Beautiful.
So lemon milk is a nice taste. The sticky hot bush makes it really bitter, but it's a really good one for calming and relaxing and helping you sleep. I do make tincture out of sticky hot bush, and I do put it into my arthritis cream, so I tend to put them in things. So I put that into my AR cream, my arthritis and rheumatism cream, because it's anti-inflammatory. It's always a trick, these things have got to be proven. Otherwise, we shouldn't be using them, So it's always an issue, all those sort of things as well. And I have taught at WEA, so I've learned, you have to be very careful with what you say and what you put out. So, for instance, I do have a website and I do have a shop front and things like that, but I don't write anything they're useful for. So it's chickweed cream, or it's chickweed ointment, or it's blackberry nightshade ointment, and unless you've been taught by me or know my books or whatever, or you've been one of my clients, you won't know what it's for, and so that's okay. It's for people that understand and knows these things.
Yes, safe,
that's important, and we don't write on them that can be used. AR cream, I don't write it's for arthritis and rheumatism or anything like that. So that's important that people got to understand that, because I've had trouble with people with that. I do teach people, and I always try and tell people you can't get out there and make medicinal, so these can be used for medicinal purposes. You can make them for creams and make people pretty and all the rest of it, cosmetics. But you can't use them for medicinal purposes. You can use them for your family, or you can use them for your clients and things like that. That works quite well. Excuse me, I just had a drink.
You're right. Pat, do you have a simple home remedy that you would like to share with the listeners that they might like to have a try of at home?
A home remedy other than onion poultices and things. So what could be a home remedy that you could use?
You spoke about the potato earlier.
About the what?
Potato.
Oh yeah, potato. Well, I can. That's the part. Do you want me to just explain
Yeah,
about potato
sure.
poultice?
That'd be great.
Okay. So I, because to make a mixture, I tend to boil. I mean, I could tell you how to make an ointment or something like that because that's what I do. I do
Yes.
teach people how to make ointments with olive oil and beeswax and things. But to use a potato, potatoes are used for drawing, and they're very good drawers. And so, for instance, I'll give you an example. I had a little girl fell off a horse, and she fell into the bushes, and it was covered in, and her whole hands were covered in prickles. Well, this is where you can use something like a potato poultice. You grate the potato really fine. You put it between something like chucks, whatever you've got handy. Put it on the hands, cover it in plastic bags, leave it overnight, and next morning they will come out. You can also use potato poultice on bruising and things like that. It'll bring out all the colours in the rainbow. You think, my God, what's it done? But it will bring out the inflammation and the bruising. So it's a great one for drawing. So that's what I use the potato poultice for. The onions are more for antiseptic purposes.
Yes.
And then we have the things like the cabbage and things more for dispersal. So that's why they use them with the boobs. And
Yes, of
probably with
course.
meat. So
Yes.
that's really important. You use the grated carrot for the tips as well, for making them comfortable as well on your tips.
Yeah.
So on nipples, that's what we call them.
Yes.
So like all those sort of things.
Yes.
Because I probably, you see, my basis of a lot of things that I do would be the ointments. And I would say to
Yes.
the person, if you're growing some calendulas in your garden, collect your calendulas, collect 250 grams of them, chop them up really finely, and then you can use to infuse them. I tend to, if I'm going to do a cold infusion, which means you just put on a windowsill, I will, or something warm, I would tend to dry them a little bit because the tremendous moisture in them, and then I would cover them in oil with just a bit over the top of it and leave them in a warm spot. I leave them for months.
Yes.
And then I filter it off, and then I would thicken them up with beeswax. But the usual fast way that I do it is because I'm teaching people to do things quite fast because we're doing it on courses and workshops and things. And it works really well and don't have any trouble at all. And I do not this one myself, but I mostly do cook on the slow combustion. But basically you chop up your herb, you put it in olive oil. So about 250 grams of calendulas, put in 800 mils of olive oil. You'll heat it up and get a nice bubble. So all the moisture's moving away and all the goodness is going into the herb. Sometimes, of course, as we make them go a bit faster than that because we're in a hurry. But if you can do a little bit slower, a slow cooker or something like that, that's really good. And then that way you get rid of all the water. And what I like about that, then I know that ointment will keep a long time, where the infused ones will still have some moisture in them and they won't keep as well. So I'm big on making sure it has a very stable life, shelf life. I've got people 10 years later ring me and say, I've still got my ointment. I think, my God, wasting on answer. But no, I still got it. But if you get rid of all the moisture, it's really important. So when the bubbles are almost gone, you take it off the heat, you filter it, you add 100 grams of beeswax to that if you want to thicken it and make it into ointment. And you stir. I always stir until it thickens a bit so that it doesn't break up in the jar. So because sometimes the ointment
separate,
the beeswax can go to the top and the oil at the bottom. So I always make sure it's well stirred before I pour it out. So that's a typical way that I make ointments.
Beautiful. Thank you, Pat. You've shared some beautiful remedies. I have one really difficult question for you for the end. You mentioned that you've been loving herbs for over 30 years, and I'm wondering, in that time, has there been an absolute standout? What's your favourite and why?
You guys, and that's not easy because I love them for different things.
Yes.
Sometimes when you think about that, you think, well, what herb would I do without it? I mean, I do love echinacea.
Yes.
I think it's an amazing herb. I grow it myself as well, and if I'm going to do it, I will juice the whole plant. Do, do, do. I'm very fond of nettles.
What is it about nettle that makes it a favourite?
Oh, so high nutrients. Got all the nutrients in it. I dry them and I grind them up, and then that would go in all my food.
Yes.
That to me is a multi.
Yes.
And I also use it a lot in hair conditioners and things where you need hair treatment on the scalp. And I've seen so many wonderful results with that herb. But then I've got some John's wort too. Hey, that's amazing. Oh, what about calendula?
You can't pick. It's too difficult a question.
Yeah, they're also beautiful and for different reasons.
Yes.
But I do love my weedy things. They're fun and weedy. So things that
Yes.
just grow up and pop up themselves, and you can enjoy them, and you know that all the nutrients are coming from that. All those nutrients are in that soil there that you picked it from.
Yes, yes. Well, thank you so much, Pat. It's been an absolute pleasure and an honour to have you on here, and you've shared so much wisdom for people to just make them feel empowered and confident to be able to just grab something from the kitchen and start making things to help support their health. So I really appreciate your time.
Oh, great. That's what I want to hear. I can empower people. I love empowering people. That's fabulous.
I'm so glad you tuned into this episode of Self-Care with Herbs, a segment of the Elder Tree podcast. The Elder Tree is a non-profit dedicated to putting the medicine in the hands of the people through grassroots herbal education and earth skills, weaving a strong community of herbalists, healers and plant folk in Australia. If you'd like to dive a little deeper, you can head over to our Patreon, the Elder Tree Trove, to access special content from our podcast guests. I hope you found something in this episode that has inspired you to begin to lean into those plant allies and to experience your practice of self-care blossoming and blooming. I look forward to sharing more ways you can weave plant medicine into your days next month.